think I was gonna cry. Like, I literally didn't think I was gonna cry. I thought I was gonna be okay. So honestly, I didn't think I would be having this conversation, especially at age 36, but here we are. It feels really weird to just like welcome you like our normal welcome, like we would for a normal video. So here I am, I'm Jessica. For those of you who are newer to our channel, my husband and I have been documenting our whole food plant-based adventure on YouTube. We switched to eating primarily whole food plant-based diet back in June of 2018, but we've had our fair share of ups and downs and slips with our plant-based diet. So all of that you can find on our channel. There's tons of videos, tons of recipes and content and really fun pieces. But now here we are. We pretty much just share anything and everything that's going on in our lives. And so this is the chapter we're in right now. And it's a little bit of a lot of a bit more serious chapter. There's still going to be regular whole food plant-based content on this channel going forward. Like, for those of you who've been with us forever, this isn't going to become like the cancer channel, but it's going to become, you know, obviously cancer and whole food plant-based diet go hand in hand as far as like, you know, finding the optimal diet to treat cancer. There's a lot of research and a lot of stuff that goes into that. So we will be covering those kind of areas of content, but we're still going to have, you know, our normal fun content. It's just going to be a little bit of a bumpy road for the time here. But I just want to make it clear that I'm not going to let the cancer take over me, let alone like this entire channel. So it's just going to become a part of our story, but it's not the story. Does that make sense? And I think there's just a lot of really important information. And the reason I'm even sharing this is because I feel like there's so much important information and it's important to share this stuff to let everybody out there who's going through something similar know that they're not alone and we're all in this together. And I feel less alone since I've shared this with my community. And yeah. So yes, I have cancer. I'm kind of going to try to explain how we got to this point. If you guys haven't seen, there's a 2-part video, quite emotional of a ride, but it started out with me basically just thinking that there was something wrong. I had a pain. I thought it was kidney stone, honestly. And I thought, wow, okay, if it's a kidney stone, that could be something cool to film for our channel because, you know, is there a correlation between plant-based diets and kidney stones, or is there any kind of like whatever, you know, obviously a lot of people go through kidney stones. So I thought that could be something just really useful for our channel. So the first time I pulled out of the driveway and left for my first appointment with a doctor about any of this, I filmed a little clip and said, hey, bringing you guys along for the ride. Don't know what's going to happen, but this is where we are. And eventually that led me to getting an ultrasound done where they found an ovarian mass. It led me to going to the OBGYN where she assured me that, you know, cancer was one of the lowest possibilities for someone of my age and my health and condition and everything. So this whole time, you know, I prepared myself, honestly, I think more than like Brian or anybody else did for the possibility of it being cancer, because I'm a bit of a doomsday, like what's the worst case scenario kind of person. But eventually it led us to the ER. It led us to being checked into the hospital, to surgery, to literally finding out on the day of surgery that I have cancer. Brian's the one that told me. The doctor told him in the waiting room. We didn't know it was cancer before any of that. It was like, again, if you watch those 2 parts, part 1 and 2 of the little like something's wrong with me, the way that we released those videos, we wanted it to just be, this is how we found out. This is how the story unfolded for us. And it's hard for us to watch those videos because of that, because knowing what we know now, it's like watching us just preparing for this train wreck that's about to come. And honestly is hard to stomach. Like when we posted that last video, I got sick to my stomach, physically ill when we posted it because it was so emotional for me. And yeah, but today I wanted to kind of answer a bunch of questions because I know that where we left off in the end of the last video was a bit of a like shocking state. And it was for us. And then what happened was we did not actually film anything else while I was in the hospital after that thing we filmed the night of the surgeries where we told you guys that I have cancer. It all just became, the next 8 days that I was in the hospital just became like this whirlwind of pain. And why isn't the pain over? Because I had the surgery, finding out more information about what's going on, what was going on, what this mass was doing in my body, how it was taking over in there. And it just has been a lot. So I have some questions. I asked you guys for some questions, and I'm just going to kind of go through and outline the basic questions. And I think that will answer a lot of the story that's happened since that night. So let's get into the questions. Okay, in true Jessica fashion, before we get into the questions, I did want to say that I want to kind of pick up. So that video left off with us knowing that I had cancer, but we didn't know a whole lot about it. The next morning, my doctor, who operated on me, came in the room and told us a lot more about what was going on. So essentially, this mass had started in my ovary. Well, no, that's not even true. See, it's very confusing. This mass was mostly in my ovary, right? My left ovary. But it had like attached itself to my cervix, my bowel. Luckily it didn't go into the bowel. It was like just on the outside, my uterine wall, and it was surrounding, encasing my ureter, which is the line between your kidney and your bladder. So when you talk about kidney stones and thinking it could be kidney stones, we actually weren't that far off because, you know, my understanding is those can get caught in the ureter and cause a ton of pain. My ureter was being literally surrounded by this mass, and it can cut off the flow and cause things to back up into the kidney, basically, and the kidney can swell. So my kidney was swollen a little bit. There was a lot going on. The doctor honestly said none of the scans that they had, the CT scan or the ultrasound, could have prepared them for what they saw when they got in and actually operated on me. And so it's a lot more complicated than we originally, like even in the end of the last video we filmed, thought it was. And we would learn that over the next few days, like here and there, we would learn pieces of information. And, but there's unfortunately still a lot we don't know. So the first question that a lot of people ask me is, what kind of cancer do you have? I don't know. I might have ovarian cancer, I might have uterine cancer, or I might have cervical cancer. We don't know where the cells originated from. Just because it was all mostly in the ovary, like it's still not a clear cut and dry thing. Unfortunately, people also want to know what stage of cancer I have, and we don't have the pathology back. Sitting here today, I'm recording this on Saturday, June, what is today, the date? I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea what date anything is, but I will tell you it is 2 weeks. Yesterday was 2 weeks since my surgery on June 3rd, and we still don't have pathology. Originally, it was supposed to take 3 to 5 days, but they extended that to 1.5 weeks to 2 weeks because they had to send off my stuff to a special lab, like a different lab, for further investigation. So we're still waiting. We're hoping on June 22nd, which is this coming Wednesday, I'm supposed to have a follow-up with the doctor, and hopefully at that point we will have pathology. So we don't know what kind of cancer it is. We don't know what stage. The doctor's best guess at what stage was that it could be stage 3. But again, without knowing what kind and having the pathology, it's really all a guessing game at that point. Okay, so hopefully Brian can just like splice this into the other video, but I forgot to answer a really important question. A lot of you have asked or wondered if the cancer is gone, if I still have cancer in me. And the answer is, unfortunately, yes. I do have cancer in me. It is not completely gone. Around the ureter, they were unable to remove, that's like the only area, I think she said, where they were unable to remove all the cancer cells. So there are some cancer cells still in there that they will need to treat with like chemo and other treatment going in the future, but they were unable because they said if they had removed, honestly, like any more of what, of the cancer cells, they would have done way more damage. Obviously, it's like a very sensitive area with the ureter and everything. So unfortunately, I do still technically have cancer cells. Okay, back to the other video. Okay, so backing up, people ask, when did you first notice symptoms? So as you saw in the first video, I kind of explained, if you haven't seen the first part of the something is wrong with me kind of videos, May 2nd was the first day I had pain. And the reason I can pinpoint that day so much is because May 1st, if you'll remember, Brian Kroc and I bought bicycles. And I firmly believe now that I hadn't ridden a bike for 15 years or more. I wasn't even going to get a bike that day, but Brian really wanted a bike. We did a whole video about us getting bikes, and we were super excited and everything. So I think what happened the first day I was riding the bicycle, I was like trying to go up a hill and I didn't know how to switch gears. I pushed myself really hard doing that. I also fell. Now I fell on my right side and it was a really stupid fall. It wasn't like after falling, I just remember, wow, I was going like 0. I could have totally not had that fall. But I think I truly believe that something during that fall or just the process of riding a bike triggered something. There was all this stuff, the cancer was going on in me, and all of a sudden it was like, hey, throw up the red flag, like we're suffering in here, there's pain in here. And I do believe that it was related to the bike, because the next day is when I started having the first bit of pain, and I can't remember any bit of pain before that. So that's interesting. What were some of the first symptoms that you experienced? So the first symptom that people ask that a lot, it was literally that pain. Now we thought that pain, of course, because I just started riding a bike, it was like, oh, it's going to be muscular from riding the bike and not having done that for a long time. It could be, like I pulled something or whatever. I also thought it was gas. I thought there's a million things. I'm like, oh, it's probably just not a big deal. I shouldn't go to a doctor, waste their time, etc. But I did go to the doctor, and you can see that kind of in the first video, because I told myself, like, at the following Monday, so it was May 2nd, like by May 9th, if I was still having pain, I was calling the doctor regardless. And so that's what I did. People ask if there are any warning signs I missed. If looking back, I can't think of any. I've always had heavy periods. But I always talk to my OBGYN about it. I saw her last in October 2021. I think in a previous video I said it was February. That was my regular doctor I saw in February. My OBGYN was in October. So like I'd had my yearly normal well woman visit. I had a pap smear. The pap smear came back fine. Everything was fine. So I don't think there's any signs that I like missed, but of course you're always combing through. Is there something that I could have, is there a way I could have found out about this sooner or figure this out, put this puzzle together sooner? Do they have any idea how long that you've had it or when it started? No. And I don't know if the pathology I don't even know if that's even a thing that would be on the pathology. I think it's going to be kind of one of those things where we'll never know. But it does seem like, because in October, my OBGYN did a very, she checked me, she felt everything and everything felt normal. So it does seem like something between October and now, maybe changed. I don't know. Again, that's all speculation. A lot of people ask this, why were you in the hospital so long? So I was in the hospital for 12 days. The reason I was in the hospital so long was because, first of all, I went into the ER on the 31st, and that was a Tuesday. They didn't operate on me until that Friday. They did say when they told me that they were definitely going to need to do surgery after I checked into the ER, but they didn't know when they were going to be able to get me in. I could go home and like wait it out there and like have the surgery like Thursday or Friday or something like that. But honestly, we all kind of evaluated it, even the doctors, and I was just in such an immense amount of pain that we kind of decided it was not pain that I could manage at home. I had been through hell the 2 nights prior trying to manage it at home, and it just was not working. And in hindsight, I'm really glad that I decided to stay in the hospital. So from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we were just waiting for me to get in for surgery. Every day would be like, oh, it's going to be tomorrow. And then it would be like, oh, just kidding, it's not going to be tomorrow. So we finally got me in on Friday morning for the surgery. And the reason why I was in so long after that, because it was supposed to be this laparoscopic surgery that was like, hey, you're going to go home tonight. Like, you're going to go home after this surgery. And it turned into a way more invasive surgery. If you heard me describe how the mass had kind of attached itself to all these different places, they had to do all kinds of other things, like, to get these cancer cells out of there. And so it became way more invasive. They also, instead of just being laparoscopic, they had to give me an incision that was probably like this big. It's like probably 4.5 inches or so below my, like a few inches below my belly button, to get this mass out of me. They said it was so heavy and like just they couldn't get it out of me without cutting and making a bigger incision. A big reason, there's 2 things that were going on. Like I described earlier, the thing with the kidney swelling, they had a lot of trouble making sure they were monitoring my creatinine. Did I say that right? Finally, for once in my life, creatinine. I think that's how you say it. Level, we can never say that word. They were monitoring that. It was going a little bit too high, I think. Whatever way you don't want it to go. And so they were monitoring that. I had to receive 2 blood is it transfusion or infusion? I think it's infusion. I don't know. I don't remember anymore. Basically, they just put units of blood in me. A lot of that was to get my like hemoglobin and like my iron levels and all that stuff up. They couldn't just put iron in me because they didn't want it to cause me to get constipated, because I also had a portion of the outer layer of my bowel removed as part of because the cancer had started to attach to that. So anytime you're involving the bowel, the recovery is just a lot worse, because they were really slow to let me eat, any food at all, let alone like I think it was liquids for like, I don't know, almost a week. It was just the recovery, the intensity of the surgery just required more recovery. I also went through times where the pain was so bad. This is post-surgery. The pain was like worse than it was even like, I mean, at the highest level, at least, of where it was before the surgery. So there were nights when I was just like, it was bad. And so I only started eating like soft, solid foods, I think like 2 days before I left the hospital. And I'm still to this day, until the 24th of June, on a soft, solid diet still. So they're just being really careful with everything that they had to do inside of me. So let's see. Do you know what the hospital bill looks like? I mean, I can imagine what the hospital bill looks like. Fortunately, I do have medical insurance. There's a bit of confusion between people because what happened was my doctor is actually, who operated on me, is not in my network, and I don't have out-of-network coverage. But because I went through the ER, it saved me because I went through the ER, that visit will be covered, should be, fingers crossed, everything should be covered minus the out-of-pocket costs that I have. So like my out-of-pocket costs for the year, I will definitely still owe, but insurance will pick up the rest. Even though the surgeon's out of network, the hospital's in network, it's very confusing. So the hospital's in network, and because I went through the ER and they didn't have anybody else in my network in that hospital, it's fine. But because of that, I cannot use that doctor going forward. She's not in my network, so I will have to find another doctor for treatment phase. And so that's a process that I've been working on over the last week. And it's kind of a daunting process to just say, oh, I have cancer. Let me find who the best person to help me treat this cancer is. And so there's been a lot that's gone into that. Let's see, more questions. So yeah, the hospital bill, hopefully, fingers crossed, everything comes through and it's like just my out-of-pocket cost that I have to pay, like my maximum for the year, and everything's covered. That being said, when we started thinking, because I'd had people approach me about possibly creating a GoFundMe, and I was like very reluctant at first because I was like, well, my insurance should cover most of this, but I started thinking about all the other costs that are going to be associated and all the other things, and there's a lot of stuff. Like, we're talking about egg retrieval, which insurance will cover part of, but not all of. We're talking travel expenses because it's looking like my treatment likely won't be in St. Louis. It will probably be in another city. So travel and like temporary living situation whenever we do that. There's just everything from like, there's just so much other stuff that kind of piles up. We're talking about maybe having me do some stuff with True North, which a lot of you have suggested, which isn't covered by insurance. And so ultimately, I decided that I would allow a GoFundMe to be created just because I knew that it would give me the best shot at the best possible care. And also, it would allow you guys, if you want to support us, obviously, we are never going to ask you to give, like, we're never going to be like, you have to give us money. But, like, I know when I'm in a situation where someone I know is struggling, I want to be able to do something. And if I can give $20 and that can make the problem a little better, like, it's always a good thing. But trust me, I did not take lightly going and saying, yes, like, you can post a GoFundMe or any of that kind of stuff. The amount that you guys have raised, like, I feel like not deserving of. When we initially put it up, we had an amazing supporter of the channel give us a very, very large donation that just literally knocked me off my feet, and I can't express my appreciation for them. I can't. It's not possible. And I struggle a lot. Of like, should I do this? Should I not? But I will guarantee you this. I've already opened a separate bank account for all that money. I am going to use every dime of that to fight this cancer like hell. And if there's a dime left over, I will use it to make sure that somebody else is able to have a chance. And I will turn this into good. I know I am very privileged and blessed in my life with people surrounding me, and I just can't say enough for everybody who's supported and really stepped up and allowed me to have that portion of this whole thing, like some peace of mind in that portion, in the financial regard of like, hey, if I need to be like, hey, I need to put $4,000 down on an apartment so that I can go live in this city to get this specific treatment, like, I have that option. A lot of people don't have that option, and I feel guilty. So trust me, like, a few people, like, we've had a couple of comments that are just like, why is there a GoFundMe? But like, trust me, I feel guilty about it. But I also feel like it's a way that you guys can participate and help me. And like, I'm not too proud to say that I need help sometimes. That being said, we've reached $20,000, which is insane in donations and in such a short time. And we will not be like raising the goal or anything like that unless there's a very specific reason that we need to. So I appreciate all of you, seriously. I can't express it, as you guys probably know by my rambling. Why didn't you get a complete hysterectomy? That's the next question. So that's a good question. We did discuss with the doctors going in, you know, I'm 36. We haven't ruled out having kids. We discussed all that, but we ultimately told them if something needs to be taken out, like, and it's like, I come first before any potential children we might have. Like, that's just, you know, how it is. If they need to come out, it needs to come out. The doctor said that, so my right ovary, like, is fine. It's still in there. Like, the doctor honestly said that a hysterectomy, because they didn't know what kind of cancer and still don't know what kind of cancer it is, a hysterectomy could be in my future, but it actually, some of the parts that they would have taken out may protect other parts during treatment in the future. So keeping some things in there may actually help protect other things, if that makes any sense. So it was really hard for them to know what to take out or what not to take out, given that they didn't know what kind of cancer it was. So a hysterectomy may happen, but right now it's not like on the table as, you know, needing to happen at this moment. How long will it take to heal from the surgery? So typically I think they say 6 to 8 weeks. So I'm like 2 weeks out, 6 to 8 for like a full healing recovery from the surgery. I'm doing a lot better. I'm still in pain. I still have days, like last night was bad. It wasn't as bad as like a few nights before that where we almost ended up back in the ER, but I'm still in pain. I'm trying to manage that pain. I'm trying to use my medications to manage it. It's been difficult. I'm not going to lie. It hasn't been an easy, straight and narrow path. But I'm getting better. I feel like I'm getting stronger every day, and I feel like I will recover, you know, in time. Do you know the treatment plan going forward? Like if I'll have to undergo chemo, radiation? We don't know. We've heard, initially the doctor said it would probably be chemo, probably be like 18 weeks of chemo, that kind of thing. Maybe radiation. Again, without pathology, it's really hard to know. But chemo is most certainly, like, definitely probably in my future. When will the treatment start? So I guess typically, like, my brain would go, hey, like, shouldn't we start this treatment right away? Let's get going. But I need to be healed from the surgery before they can start treating me. And so really it's like the 6 to 8 week period before they would really start treating me. So probably maybe late July is when we could expect treatment to start, hopefully. But again, don't really know. What have the doctors said about your diet? Like, have they said anything? So the doctor that I had at the hospital, when I told her I eat plant-based, she didn't really have any kind of like negative or positive or anything to say. She's like, okay, that's great. Like, there was no like, oh my gosh, you need to eat animal products. There was what we called the protein police that came to the hospital room at one point and was like, you need these protein shakes. And we were like, okay. Because it was really hard to find actually plant-based hospital food. And we actually have a separate video that we can do on that, because I did record quite a few clips about my experience of trying to eat plant-based in the hospital before we knew I had cancer. And it was like a whole other dark thing when we just thought it was like, hey, this is like some cyst, we're going to remove it, we're going to go home. I was recording like a lot more of that kind of content. So we will share that at some point, probably. But no, they haven't said you need to eat animal products. They haven't, but I also don't have a doctor like for treatment now. So like the doctor I have who did the surgery is my doctor through like Wednesday when I get my follow-up. And then beyond that, she's not really like my doctor for this anymore. Hopefully we have 2 really good leads that we're working on. So hopefully one of those will, and I'm making sure that whoever we go with definitely is open to plant-based diet, if not promoting a plant-based diet. Have any of the plant-based doctors reached out to you? So nobody's like reached out to me specifically. Two of the first people that we actually told about me having cancer were Kim and Nelson Campbell, who have been amazing. We had a great chat with them about all kinds of things. They got on Zoom with us and while we were still in the hospital and talked to us. So Kim and Nelson, seriously, like, I can't do a heart because I don't know, my brain doesn't work right now, but so much love to you guys. Of course, our friend Ray Cronice, we're always talking to him, and he will do anything and everything in his power to help me at any time. Like, I have no doubts of that. I also, Nelson was able to connect me with Dr. Alan Goldhammer at True North, and so I had a discussion with him, and I'll kind of go into detail on that in another video probably, but talked to him about water fasting and all those kind of options and what is right for me at this point of what I have going on, but I haven't really, like, I feel like I'm building a support network, and I have enough of, like, a support network, and then connections to reach out to other people when I need to add to that network, if that makes sense. So I feel like we're in a really good place with that. Is there anything we can do to help? Somebody asked. Well, you guys have already, like I said, just being there. Like, the financial thing is one thing, but like, and it's just insane. And it's just the outpouring of love that we've had, but just being there, just praying for me. We already started receiving like cards in our PO box, which somebody asked about our PO box. The address is always in the description of the video if you want to send a card or anything like that. But I can't ask any more of you. You guys have helped me so much and made me not feel alone. Some of the stories that people have shared with me of things they've gone through or are going through, it's just amazing, and I just can't thank you enough. Do you know how much your YouTube family loves you? I mean, I do now, yes. I mean, I always knew you guys loved us, but after all that we've been through these past few weeks, which honestly just feels like a days of, like, I feel like I'm in an outer, like, I'm like in outer space or something in a totally different universe. And the love you guys have shown, just, again, if I knew how to do a heart, why can't I figure out a heart? Oh, is this a heart? There we go. Brian's like, do it like this. It doesn't, I mean, okay, heart. Brian's trying, he's like directing me. Is that good? That's pretty good. No, that's still not really a heart. Okay. Anyway, the last question that somebody asked that I thought I would answer, and there are more questions, which I'll probably answer like on our Instagram page, some of the like more specific kind of questions, but there will be more videos, of course, too, is how are you? How am I? I'm good. I'm not good. I'm good and not good. I'm hanging in there, and I'm trying my hardest to put together a plan so that we can fight and have the best chance of fighting whatever it is we're faced with, which we still don't know. Like, I'm preparing myself for the worst and for bad news when we get the pathology. You know, maybe it's something that they're like, hey, this is something we've seen a million times. We can totally, like, maybe it's something a little bit more rare. But I feel hopeful, and I feel ready to fight. I have a lot to fight for, and I intend to do that. And I just feel like maybe I was put in this position to do something bigger, you know, to I don't know. I think maybe this you know, obviously nobody wants anything like this to ever happen to them, but if I have to go through this, but I can change someone else, you know, that I can change something in the world, and I can, like, you know, have a bigger impact on the world through this weird twist of fate, then I will absolutely do everything in my power to do that. So that's all for this one. Obviously there's still a lot more information that is to come, but hopefully this gave you kind of an update of where I am at this very moment, and you guys can, you know, like, you have a better understanding, because I feel like when we left off on the last video, it was kind of like this abrupt ending, and then we kind of like took a little break again because it was just a lot. So yeah, I don't know really what else to say other than thank you again, and all the love. If I could make a heart, I'd send to you. But thank you so much, and we will continue to fight. And I am so glad that I have you, all of you, to fight with me.